What's going on, noobs? I am Rory, the Perpetual Noob, and welcome back to another exciting Hollow Knight boss discussion. This is video lucky number 13 in a series where I'll be discussing each boss of Hollow Knight, where we can find them, how we can defeat them, and how does this boss fit into the world of Hollow Knight. Today, we'll be talking about Failed Champion. Failed Champion is another dream boss. To access a dream boss, we need the Dream Nail. We acquire the Dream Nail when we go to the resting grounds and inspect a large statue. This leads to a sequence with some platforming, ending with a moth called the Seer, rescuing us and giving us the Dream Nail. The great thing about dream bosses is that if we lose the fight, it doesn't count as a death. In fact, we just return to the real world with an empty soul bubble, and we can quickly return to the boss fight. We find Failed Champion to the left of center in the Forgotten Crossroads, near where we found False Knight. When we return to where we defeated False Knight, we just find an empty suit of armor. We've got to use our Mantis Claw to climb above this location, to the right, and eventually we'll find a cracked wall. After breaking this wall, we find a couple maggots mourning over their dead comrade. This dead maggot is the False Knight, as indicated by the floating dream lights. We hit their body with the Dream Nail and are transported to the Dream Realm. After a few hops onto some materializing platforms, we arrive in the arena of Failed Champion. Failed Champion's attacks are similar to False Knight's, but with a couple differences. The biggest difference is that every attack, and even touching Failed Champion, does 2 hit points worth of damage to us. Every Failed Champion attack causes rocks to fall from the ceiling, and the shockwave of the slam attack is much taller. Thankfully, the rocks still do only 1 hit point of damage. Failed Champion will swing their mace forward, slamming it into the ground. The impact of the mace creates a shockwave that travels forward across the whole arena, and rocks will fall from the ceiling. Failed Champion telegraphs this attack when they stand in place, lean back, and draw their mace back, to the point where the mace touches the ground behind them. Then they swing the mace in a quick overhead arc. Let's call this attack the Slam Attack. Failed Champion will leap into the air and slam their mace down in front of them when they land. Rocks will fall from the ceiling when Failed Champion lands. Failed Champion targets us when they leap, so they will strike where we were when they started their leap. Failed Champion telegraphs this attack when they crouch down to gain some oomph before they leap into the air. While Failed Champion is in the air, they lift their mace above their head and then swing it in an overhead arc before they land, bringing their large body and mace down simultaneously. Let's call this attack the Leaping Slam Attack. Failed Champion will rage, slamming their mace multiple times on their left and right. Each time the mace strikes the ground, rocks will fall from the ceiling. This attack only happens when Failed Champion stands back up, fully armored, after being knocked down with their head exposed. Failed Champion telegraphs this attack when they crouch down to leap into the air. They land in the center of the arena, and pose like they're going to do a slam attack. Failed Champion will sort of shimmy in this pose for about half a second before swinging their mace in an overhead arc. Failed Champion will continue to slam the ground with their mace for about 3 seconds. Let's call this attack the Rage Attack. Failed Champion attacks quickly and hits really hard. This makes for a difficult fight, and much like our first dream boss, Soul Tyrant, I had to walk away from Failed Champion, after a multitude of failed attempts, and go back to exploring the world of Hallownest. I got more charm notches, more hit points, and a stronger nail. Then I returned, and it still took a couple more attempts to defeat Failed Champion. The Failed Champion fight plays out like the False Knight fight. After taking a certain amount of damage, Failed Champion will fall over, and their helmet will fall away, leaving their head exposed. After whacking their head for a bit, Failed Champion will don their helmet again, and rage. This pattern will repeat 3 times. The 3rd time Failed Champion rages, they still smash through the floor and fall down, leaving their head exposed once again for us to end the fight. My equipped charms were Quick Slash, Joni's Blessing, and Lifeblood Heart. I originally tried all sorts of charm combinations to defeat Failed Champion to no avail. I tried my favorites: Quick Focus, Thorns of Agony, and Grub Song. None of them were useful to me for this fight. So what's a noob to do? What the Hollow Knight wiki calls face tanking. But the noob way. I say I face tanked the noob way because most people say to properly face tank, one must only equip defensive charms. Well, I added Quick Slash. My nail was one step away from the strongest it could be, which meant Quick Slash's effect would be incredibly useful. I needed to avoid getting hit as much as possible, crazy, I know, which meant I would have way more time to swing my nail and damage Failed Champion. Quick Slash gave me the ability to get in tons of damage whenever it was safe to do so, allowing me to out-damage Failed Champion. Since there was hardly any time to heal, I forewent Quick Focus and equipped Joni's Blessing instead. Joni's Blessing changes our hit points into lifeblood, and lifeblood cannot be regained through focusing soul. AKA, we can't heal. Which was fine by me because I found I wasn't healing anyway. Time for some math. When I returned to defeat Failed Champion, I had 8 hit points. Joni's Blessing grants us an extra 50% plus 1 hit points, taking my total hit points to 13. This meant I could survive up to 6 hits from Failed Champion, when with just 8 hit points, I could only survive 3. And then there was Lifeblood Heart, which granted me another 2 hit points, taking my total health to 15, and that meant that I could survive 7 hits. Due to my magnetic nature regarding enemy damage, being able to survive as many hits as possible was paramount to my victory against Failed Champion. The Monarch Wings ability was essential to dodging the shockwaves from the slam attack. The Mothwing Cloak ability was essential to dodging everything else. I found it was best to stay far away from Failed Champion, which tended to force them to use a leaping slam attack to get to us. We would dash underneath that and hit them a few times when they landed. I found it difficult, if not impossible, to damage Failed Champion during their slam attack. Instead, I just did my best to avoid the whole thing, trying to stay far away from Failed Champion to force them to use a leaping slam attack to get to us. Also, watch out for falling rocks. The only time we gain soul against Failed Champion is when we strike their exposed head, and since I wasn't bothering to heal, I actually used a spell. Every time I got enough soul from hitting Failed Champion, I would use Vengeful Spirit shortly after, usually during the rage attack. Even my victorious fight against Failed Champion was difficult, and I caught some lucky breaks. Desolate Dive is a great spell for this fight because it provides so much invincibility while also dealing tons of damage. You can be nearly completely safe during Failed Champion's rage attack when using Desolate Dive. The Hollow Knight wiki states that if you want to start the Failed Champion fight with full soul, it's best to keep the Morning Maggot on the left alive, because whenever you return to the real world, you can use the Dream Nail and hit that maggot until you've got full soul. The Dream Wielder charm will speed up this process. You can also use the Dream Nail and Dream Wielder combination when Failed Champion's head is exposed to regain tons of soul quickly. The wiki states that you can hit Failed Champion's exposed head with your Dream Nail 3 times before Failed Champion armors back up. This would allow you to either use a lot of spells or heal during the rage attack. It is possible to heal during the Failed Champion fight. The charm Shape of Un allows you to move while healing. Combining this with the Quick Focus charm means you'll be able to heal faster and move faster while healing. Upgrading the Mothwing Cloak ability to the Shade Cloak is always good. The Shade Cloak is found at the bottom right of the Abyss, and it grants us the ability to safely dash through enemies and their attacks. This would allow you to safely dash through many of Failed Champion's attacks. I credit my victory partially due to my strong nail, so I recommend upgrading your nail at the Nailsmith, who resides at the bottom left of the City of Tears. And I highly recommend finding more charms and charm notches, and collecting mask shards to gain more hit points. Please see the Soul Master video for a more in-depth general discussion about playstyles and charm combinations. Once Failed Champion is defeated, we are returned to the real world, facing the ghost of the maggot that was False Knight. We can speak with them and learn their story. It turns out that maggots, per the hunter's notes, are the lowest and weakest bugs in Hallownest, and apparently quite tasty when roasted over an open flame. This particular maggot, who donned this armor, simply wanted to protect their fellow maggots and thought that wearing a large suit of armor and swinging a large mace would allow them to do just that. That all it would take to protect their loved ones is raw strength. They reveal that they stole the armor from a sleeping knight. The fate of that knight is a mystery, but it is believed that the sleeping knight was one of the 5 great knights of Hallownest, mighty Hejmol. So, did we avenge the cold-blooded murder of one of Hallownest's greatest heroes? Did we doom all of the maggots of Hallownest? That's it for our boss discussion about Failed Champion. Thank you for joining me today, noobs. Stay tuned for future Hollow Knight boss videos. If you've got any thoughts about Failed Champion, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I am the Perpetual Noob, and I'll see you all next time.